Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with coverage of round 7 of the 2017 Tata Steel Tournament played on Saturday the 21st of January. I have two games for you, well, not two full games. The first thing I want to show you is what happened in the game between Sergei Karjakin with white and Carjakin-Aronian with black in the opening. Let's have a look at the position after 10 moves. This is the position, an opening position of course. We've only played 10 moves, and here Sergei Karjakin has just played bishop c4 to b3. And here Carjakin-Aronian blundered on move 10 with f7, f6, opening the diagonal to his king. Karjakin did not see it either, so both 2700 plus grandmasters missed this trick. He said afterwards that he thought d3, d4 is a natural move, and it is, but of course winning a piece is even better. And he could have won a piece here with the move c3, c4. Hitting the knight. If the knight moves, for example, to b4, then there is c4, c5. And with this move, white attacks both black's bishops. And you don't have time to take on b3 in between, because then the queen takes back with check, which is crucial, and that's why f7, f6 was such a bad move. Because it's check, black doesn't have time to save his b6 bishop, which will be lost on the next move. After c4, there's nothing else you can do. The only thing is trying to get a pawn for the piece with bishop takes f2 check, king takes f2, and then you can save your knight. But of course, this is a winning position for white already. So Aronian didn't see that f6 was a blunder, neither did Karjakin. The game went on, and we'll go all the way to the end of the game. Karjakin won after all. His last move here is h3, h4. What strikes is the pawn on a6 that cannot be stopped, that will just go on to queen, and the counterplay that black has against white's king, with rook and bishop looking at the g2 pawn. Well, by playing h3, h4, white has dealt with that problem. He has given himself, his king, a bit more space. Quite a smooth win from Karjakin, apart from the hiccup, the strange thing that happened there on move 10 and 11. The other game I want to cover is world champion Magnus Carlsen with white against Carlsen-Giri with black. Both players have some history in this tournament. It was 6 years ago that 16-year-old Carlsen-Giri defeated Magnus Carlsen with black in 22 moves, and that game went around the world as a big shock. Then it took Carlsen 5.5 years to get revenge. He finally, after many draws, beat Giri in Bilbao in 2016. And here they clashed again Carlsen with the white pieces. Carlsen was on top for the whole game and finally achieved a winning position. This is the position after 46, knight d4 takes c6. Let's have a look. Both players have two rooks and a light piece. White as a bishop, black as a knight, and two pawns. So there's not so much material left on the board anymore, but this is a winning position for white. Carlsen played rook f6 check. Rook e6 is the only move, and then rook d5 check. That rook is hanging on a5, and he played it to d5 check. It's covered of course by the bishop on g2. King e7 is the only legal move, and rook f5. White is going after the h5 pawn to win a pawn, and Giri played his trump card up the board, e5, e4, nicely protected by the rook on e6. Rook takes h5, e3, rook h7 check, and now king e8 from Giri. Carlsen had seen all this. He has seen that the pawn will queen, but he will still have a winning position. He takes the rook, the unprotected rook on c7, and after e2 he has the very nice move, bishop f3. Threatening to take the runaway pawn, so e1 queen is the only move that makes sense. But now the king, the black king, is caught in a mating net. Carlsen played bishop h5 check, king f8, rook f5 check, king g8, and here Carlsen could have closed the mating net with rook c8 check, king g7, rook f7 check, king h6, and rook h8 checkmate. That would have been a beautiful end of the game. And not only that, it also resembles the final position of the World Championship match 2016 between Carlsen and Karjakin, where Carlsen sacrificed his queen on h6 for a similar mate with rook h8. And you can find a video on that dramatic last game of the World Championship on my channel. It's video 107. So this would have given Carlsen a beautiful win over Carlsen-Giri, but he did not play this after, let's go back to the position after king g8. Here, as I said, Carlsen had a checkmating sequence starting with rook c8 check, but he played something else. He played bishop f7 check. And that does not lead to mate. It looks very good. King h8 was played, rook h5 check, king g7, bishop takes e6, check, and king f6. And now, unfortunately for white, he cannot take that loose knight with rook takes e6, because then there is queen e2 check, which is forking king and rook, but even easier for black is that he has now a perpetual check, so this is a draw. Carlsen of course saw that. He did not take the knight on c6, he played rook a6 check, and after king e5 he went into a long think, because he suddenly saw that this was not so easy. Again, he cannot take that knight on c6 because of queen d2 check here, and after king h3 there is queen takes h6. Again, the queen had a double attack. So after a long think, Carlsen played bishop h3, queen d2 check, bishop g2, and there goes the rook. Now Carlsen can take that knight because it's protected. The rook is protected by the bishop on g2. And this endgame, rook and bishop and two pawns versus the queen, is a draw. Of course, white can still try to win this, and black has to defend very accurately, but objectively this is a draw. We're on move 62 in this game, and the game would go on for a very long time. So rook and bishop versus the queen with a g and an h pawn for white. Let me show you this position. This is Vasily Ivanchuk versus Peter Leko from the 2007 World Blitz Championships. The same material, and as you can see, white has been able to get his pawns much further up the board, but it's still a draw. This is the final position. Black is sacrificing his queen for stalemate. The only move that white has here is take the queen, and that is stalemate. So this shows, even if white can get his pawns on g5 and h6, then it may very well still be a draw. But Carlsen was not going to accept that without trying his hardest. That was the 62nd move, and let's move 52 moves on to the 114th move. This is the position. Has Carlsen made any progress? Well, not much. Yes, the pawns are one rank closer to the queening square, but this is still a completely even position. And here Carlsen gave up his attempts, but he was kind enough to show us why it is a draw. Giri has just played king f6 to g5. For a second it looks a big blunder because of rook f5 check with a fork, forking king and queen. But of course Giri had seen this, and this is a dead draw. Queen takes f5, g takes f5, king takes f5, and one of the unfair rules, or not unfair rules, but unfair positions in chess, which makes chess the most wonderful game that was ever invented. Why is it unfair? White is so much material up, bishop and pawn, but because it's the wrong color bishop, this position is a draw. And Carlsen and Giri showed us why it is a draw. The problem is you cannot force the king out of the h8 square because you have the bishop of the wrong color. King g3, king g5, bishop g4, king h6, king h4, king g7, staying on the dark squares, king g5, and there black goes to his safe haven on h8, and there's nothing you can do to get the king permanently out of that corner. h6, king h7, bishop e6, king h8, and king g6 is still mate and a draw. It was nice that Carlsen played on till the end, the 123rd move, to show everybody why this is a draw. It must have been a bitter pill for him to swallow for the world champion, especially after he realized, I don't know if he realized it during the game or that he only was told this afterwards by his family and his friends and his second, that he had a forced checkmate on the board many hours before. The results of round 7: 3 wins, 4 draws, and we already talked about Karjakin beating Aronian, Adiban beat Wojtaszek with black, and Wei Yi beat Van Wely with white. The other 4 games were drawn. The standings after round 7: Wesley So still proudly leads the Masters group. Aljanov and Carlsen have got company now of Wei Yi, who won his game today and who's also now at +2, 4.5 out of 7. Karjakin made a nice jump up by winning today, and you can see the rest of the field there. Luke Van Wely at the bottom with only 2 draws so far. Round 8 will be played on Sunday the 22nd of January, and I'll be here after the round to tell you all about it. Hope you enjoyed coverage of round 7. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to my channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing your comments. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.